I have two different clips to look at. One of Sarah Palin on Fox and Friends, and the second of Marjorie Taylor Greene. Both of them are talking about Ukraine funding and giving money to Ukraine. And the reason is I don't feel like I've very, very clearly specifically talked that much about my personal feelings on the support we're giving to Ukraine, and if we should give more, if we should give less. Now, spoiler alert, my analysis is I'm happy with all of the funding we've given so far. And the reason why I think this is important to talk about is even among the left, a lot of people are saying, oh, I think we're going a little overboard at this point. And definitely a lot of people on the right are saying that. So I'll get into that more in more detail in a second here. But first, this just beautiful politician moment from Sarah Palin on Fox and Friends, where she gets asked pretty much the question I just posed to ponder, and says two contradictory things and doesn't really answer the question. So take a look.
We're going to give them additional missile defense rapidly. Are you for that and protecting the Ukrainian, letting the Ukrainians fight?
Well, yeah, you know, I don't like to intervene in any foreign affairs unless America's interest is first and foremost kept in mind. And, you know, there's debate whether we have a whole lot of interest there or not. But yes, to protect the Ukrainian people, the innocent people who are suffering needlessly right now, yeah, there again, we have to keep Putin in check.
We're going to give them.
So she starts her sentence off alluding to the fact that she doesn't think we should be doing a lot of stuff that isn't directly in the United States citizens' interest or benefiting them directly in some kind of way, which is a talking point we hear a lot from people who are against the aid, but then quickly flips it around to say, but I mean, to help Ukrainian people, yes. So which one is it? And again, I think the second sentiment she shared was more accurate. And then, as I mentioned, Marjorie Taylor Greene much more clearly saying she's not in favor of the humanitarian aid that is being sent over.
Humanitarian aid. Isn't that a lovely term? Don't we all believe in humanitarian aid? I do. Sounds really nice. It does. It sounds wonderful. Do we want to help people? Of course we want to help people. But billions and billions of your money is being sent over to Ukraine in the name of humanitarian aid. Let me tell you how good these organizations are. They are professionals in understanding how to apply for grants, how to apply for the money. They get sucked into their humanitarian aid, and are they really providing anything? No, they haven't changed anything in Ukraine.
So that's an interesting talking point. They haven't changed anything in Ukraine. Now, she was zeroing in on humanitarian aid, which is odd, because while, of course, every large-scale effort to get resources to people is going to go through some corrupt people. Now, the specifics of any story that's been floated, I don't trust necessarily, especially in the spaces I've been hearing them, but it's not surprising to me that some people utilize nonprofits to do things, as we've seen plenty in politics, that aren't actually what they're purporting to do, and all of those things, which is absolutely bad and should be condemned. But the large-scale effort to get aid to Ukrainian citizens is making a difference, and it is helping people, and it is necessary. And so waving it all away because you heard some anecdote about someone not spending the money correctly or spending on personal things or whatever it is, I think is a very dishonest way to go about that. And then to talk specifically about the military resources that we've been sending, that has made a huge difference in this war, in this battle Ukraine is facing to protect their country and the right for them to have a sovereign nation. And people, I think, like to have it both ways. They like to cheer on Ukraine for doing really well, while also saying the United States shouldn't be sending so much support. But while the key reason Ukraine is standing so strong is because of their strength and because of their courage, you also have to recognize the billions upon billions the United States has been sending in military aid, the military technology, the military resources is making a difference, 100%. And then the biggest talking point I hear from people on the left, which I sympathize with, about why we should stop sending so much aid, is Why should we send blank billions of dollars to Ukraine when there's still people in the United States who don't have health care, who can't afford education, who are homeless, all those things? And again, I sympathize with that. But what you have to understand within the context of all these conversations, no matter if we send that next package to Ukraine or not, ain't nobody's gonna change the reality of healthcare in America, the reality of homeless people's lives in America, unless they had the political will before the conversation of Ukrainian aid started. And so if we're going to do those progressive actions that I think you and I all stand for, it's going to take a level of political will that is so much more significant than what we have right now in power. And that decision is not going to be made based on if we spent in the past this amount of money to help Ukraine in their fight. I can tell you in every other past instance this has been floated, it wasn't like, okay, we cut down the aid to hurricane relief and all of a sudden decided to spend that money on getting people universal health care. That's not how our political system works. Instead, you have to take it case by case. Is this a justified moment to spend money? And then understand we have to do a huge paradigm shift and get so many better politicians in power to achieve a lot of these other ambitions that we have that honestly are not connected at all to this current one. And so that answers that question. And the final element of it is the hundreds of years ramifications of Ukraine standing strong and bringing Russia to their knees is so positive for the world that so much money would be justified to be spent to make that happen. Because that would be setting a precedent that countries like Russia and Russia themselves, these authoritarian, countries that don't respect the sovereignty of others, will have to learn a lesson when seeing the way that the world united around Ukraine in this moment. And that will have positive ramifications for years to come. It's very important. Let me know what you think in the comments.